Hey everybody, it's Kyle. Hey, yesterday I was talking with Rebecca and she asked an interesting question. She said, when I'm doing, let's say I'm doing homework with my son on the spectrum and we're sitting at the dinner table and he says something rude to me and I react a certain way, not in a way, not firing back or being rude back, because that can escalate him and it can just make it a lot worse and cause a lot of stress in the home. But my typical child, when they say something rude at the dinner table when we're doing homework, I fire back. And then my typical child feels like they're being treated differently and they're getting disciplined, and my child on the spectrum isn't. So how do I work that? Right? I want my kids to believe they're treated the same, and that my typical child doesn't think my child on the spectrum is getting away with something. But that's kind of what happens. And so I want to cover that real quick, and I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm not really going to tell you how to do it. That's kind of for the insider videos, but you might be able to figure out how on your own. So, and I'm going to put myself in that situation because it's actually happened to me, where I'm trying to help my son do his homework. He says something really rude, and generally, whether it's autism or not, or he's just trying to press my buttons, I don't really care. Generally what I'll say is something like, you know what? I don't know why you think it's okay to talk to me like that. I don't talk to you like that. So let's put our heads down and we're going to get this homework done and we'll manage it. And that's the way I generally handle it with my son that's on the spectrum. With my other sons who aren't on the spectrum, they don't like to do homework either. And they try to get out of it just as much as my son on the spectrum does. And so they'll say something rude and I'll say, and like Rebecca says, sometimes you're tempted to fire back at them because they have a better understanding. But I'll say to my son who's typical, you know what, I don't know why you think it's okay to talk to me like that. I don't talk to you like that. We're going to get this homework done. And in a lot of cases, what our kids are doing, both typical and ASD kids are trying to do, is press our buttons and get us out of sorts. Because if they can get us out of sorts, they can win these battles. They can bring us down to their level, which is the level of the children. And we start arguing and fighting, and the escalations rise and tension rises, and we're upset with them and they're upset with us. Whereas if we handle it in a way that calms the situation, a lot of times these kids quit trying this stuff because they know it's not really going to press our buttons and get them what they want. You know, I've done a video about this before. Our kids are like velociraptors. They like to press our buttons to see if they can get us into kid mode, to get us into the same level which they are, so they can have these arguments and discussions and fights with us so that they don't have to do what we want them to do. And so it's our responsibility as parents to stay above that, to understand what they're trying to do, which is when they say something rude to you, they might be trying to just press your button and get you all out of sorts so they can get up from the dinner table and leave and not do their homework right then. And then it takes 2 or 3 hours and you're frustrated and they're frustrated and it's just a mess. But I want you to try that. And again, if you're having trouble doing that and you don't know how to put yourself in that state, we can help you with our insider videos. You can go download the guide that's connected to this video and kind of see how we help families. But the reality is you shouldn't treat them differently. If your son on the spectrum is rude to you consistently, there needs to be a consequence. Not right at that moment and not screaming and yelling at him, but getting through the process and then saying, if you're going to continue to do that, we're going to take away movies, or we're going to do this, and say it in a calm manner, just like you would with your typical kids. If you continue to say rude things to me, we're going to take this away, or you're not going to be allowed to do this, and say it in a calm manner, and you're going to win those battles. And I can tell you this, I've experienced this, and I've seen the result of treating them this way. You're not being passive, and you're not letting them push you around. You're just staying an adult and not falling into the trap of frustration and anger and firing back at people. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully, Rebecca, that helps out a little bit. You can treat your kids the same way. You need to create consequences for them. And then when they don't do, or they do things they shouldn't, you need to calmly call them out and enact those consequences, whether they're typical or children on the spectrum. Screaming and yelling back at them or firing back is never really going to get you where you need to go, especially with your kids on the spectrum, but even with your typical kids, because at some point if they can get you out of sorts and screaming and yelling, they've won the battle. And my sons have all gotten bigger than me and stronger, and I'm so glad that I've treated them with that way and not screamed and yelled and just gotten mean and well, it just doesn't go very well. So hopefully that's helpful. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.